Hey everyone, Jason Narayan. How was the escape room yesterday? Everyone enjoyed it? Give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Awesome, awesome. Again, I'm gonna welcome you to our 10th National Shibir. It's called Seva. Hope you guys had a good time yesterday. And with the blessings of Param Puja Dharmadharana 1008 Shri Ajendra Prasad Ji Maharaj and Param Puja Dharmadharandar 108 Bhavi Acharya Shri Ugendra Prasad Ji Maharaj, we were able to put this Shibir together. Today, we're going to have our second session. It's called Tan. So we're going to be talking about how Tan is reflectful in Seva while we do Bhakti to attain moksha. So soon we're going to have Lali Raja Shri come to the stage and give us give us some blessings from Dharmakul side. And before we do that, I just want to make sure that everyone has their videos open. So please turn on your videos as a kind request. So that way, we feel like we're still not virtual, but feels like we're more homely together, as if we're at the temple doing the Shibir. I will give the mic to Lali Rajashri now.
भवसंभव भीति भेदनम सुख संपद करुणानिकेतनम व्रतदान तपक्रिया फलम सहजानंद गुरुम भजे सदा. Jai Swamiran to all. I hope I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Fine. Since Laji Maharaj is not well, so he really wanted to join us, but he could not make it up. So though the whole Dharmakul family has given all of you lots of blessings, and hope you all are safe and healthy in this critical situation, because we all are suffering through ill health. So we all hope you are all okay, right? It's really good to see you all putting all your efforts in this satsang, even after having this corona all around. We all feel so happy to have you guys in it. All the very best from the whole Thermocol family and loads of loads blessings to all. Again, Jai Swamiran to all.
Thank you, Lali Rajashri, for your kind blessings. As you know, Lali Raja mentioned that Dharma Code is suffering in this coronavirus right now, so they couldn't make it. But thank you for coming and giving us Ashirvachan. Now I'll hand it over to Rajbhai, and he will start the session 1 for Tan.
Just Samran, everyone. So today, Sahilbhai and I will be teaching our first session for our Shibir. But before we get into that, we are going to get into a few breakout rooms and kind of break the ice, introduce ourselves. So in the breakout rooms, you're gonna say your name, say what state you're from, and kind of say a fun fact about yourself, kind of converse with each other. And we'll get back in a few minutes because I think it's important before we start, we all get a chance to get to know each other. So we will.
Give me 1 minute. 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. I hope that was a fun introduction and I hope everyone got to converse with each other. So now we're going to, before we actually begin teaching, we're going to go into a rapid fire. So Sahil and I will take turns kind of going back and forth with that. Okay. So what was the original name of our Sampradaya? Who would like to give an answer to that? So who thinks that who? So what was the original name of our sampradaya? Does anyone have any ideas? Any guesses? You can just anyone.
We
Whatever.
will
Uddhav
start.
Sampradaya.
Correct. Whoever said that, they are correct. It is the name that is was the first was the original name of our sampradaya, the Uddhav Sampradaya. Before when Ramanand Swami took the Gadi, because he was the avatar of Uddhavji, that's why the first name of our sampradaya was the Uddhav Sampradaya. Sahilbhai, you wanna
Yeah.
take the second?
So what is the name of the third mandir that was built by Sri Swaminarayan Bhagwan when he was on earth? Anyone have any ideas, guesses?
Here?
Vartal.
That is correct. And Vartal is, if you didn't know, Vartal is the head of our Sri Lakshminarayan Gadi. So that is, that is our, that's why we go by Sri Lakshminarayan Vartal Gadi.
Okay. So who is the first Swami Nilkant Varni met in Lodge? So who wants to take a jab at this one? Anyone want to take any guesses?
Muktanand Swami.
That's a really good guess, but actually it was Sri Sukhanand Swami. But many people actually mess this up, but Muktanand Swami was one of the people that Maharaj met, but Sri Sukhanand Swami was the first. But good try.
So what is it called when we attain Akshardham? There is a very specific word for it. Who wants? We have talked about this a lot in our past shibirs, so that might help. Anyone here?
Moksha.
That is correct. Great job here.
So, the next question is, Swaminarayan Bhagwan is Sakar. Is this true or false? Anyone can just raise their hand.
True.
That is correct. Swaminarayan Bhagwan is Sakar. Remember, the meaning of Sakar is that there is a defined murti and that person has a physical body. So our Maharaj is not just some sort of light. He is not Tej. He is an actual Sakar being.
Okay, what are the three forms of Sadvivek? This was one of our past shibirs. So anyone want to take a jab at it? This was one of the topics of our past shibirs. Anyone have any idea?
Here?
Speech.
You are on the right track.
So the correct answer is Vani, Vartan, and Vichar. So yeah, that was one of our, this is what we covered in our Sadvivek Shibir, if you guys remember, for the people who were there.
So, who wrote the Satsangi Jivan? So, which Swami wrote the Satsangi Jivan? Who can remember? Uh,
Satanand Swami.
yes. So Sri Sadguru Sri Satanand Swami wrote the Satsangi Jivan, and the Satsangi Jivan is basically a big biography of Bhagwan's life. So when Satanand Swami came to Maharaj and said, "Hey Bhagwan, I want to make this big book of your whole entire life," Bhagwan granted him three wishes: to see the past, the present, and the future. So that is such an amazing gift that Maharaj has given to us, the Satsangi Jivan, because we use that to see what Maharaj did throughout his life.
How long was Nilkantvarni's Van Vichran? And you can be, Sia, you raise your hand.
7 years, right?
That is correct. Yes, 7 years, 1 month, and 11 days. That's how long Maharaj spent in Vanvas or at Van Vichran before he got to Lodge.
Okay. So the next question is, what two main promises did Sri Sajanand Swami ask Sri Ramanand Swami when handed the Gadi? So even if you get one of them, that's fine, because it is a little bit tricky. So what?
Sorry. I think one of them is to take the Duke of all the Satsangis.
Correct. So the first one was to take the Duke of all of his Satsangis, and Maharaj even says in Jetalpur, Vachanamrut Jetalpur 5, that where if his Hari Bhagat gets hurt by a thorn, Maharaj wants to feel the pain of 1,000 scorpions in return, because that's how much care and compassion Bhagwan has for us. And the second promise was, anyone who follows the path of satsang and stays true to Bhagwan never suffers from inadequate food or money in their life.
Okay, what Nitya Niyam is this line included in? Nij sevak ne re, sukh deva ne kaj, pote praktyare. And it is a Nitya Niyam, so we are supposed to say this every single day, if that helps. I see here, you raised your hand.
Pratham Shri Hari Nere.
That is correct. That is part of our chesta, and that's we say that every single day. It's the first part of our chesta. Okay.
Thank you for Sahil for taking us through the rapid fire. So now let's begin. Before we begin Dhan Seva, let's kind of talk about what Seva is in general. So Seva itself means selfless service. So in relation to satsang, this Seva can be defined as a pious act done for a Bhagwan, a satsangi, or one's guru in order to please Bhagwan. So Seva can not just be done towards Bhagwan, you can do it for a guru, even a Hari Bhagat, the satsangi, so santo, or one's guru. So our guru would be our Dharmakur, our Acharya Maharashri. So it could also be done for that. And all these please Bhagwan. And there are three forms of Seva. There's Dhan Seva, which is physical Seva. There's Man Seva, which is mental Seva. And then there's Dhan Seva, which is materialistic, which is kind of like wealth. So an example of Dhan Seva would be like you doing chores around your house to help your family, or going to mandir and sweeping the floor. Man Seva, an example would be Mansi Puja. You would sit down and you would do manan of Bhagwan and serve Bhagwan mentally. And then an example of Dhan Seva would be donating some of your income to the mandir as to help the mandir grow. And so all of these sevas are connected in a way, because in order to properly do any form of seva, your honest intentions have to be towards Bhagwan. Like you can't be wanting something in return or have another ulterior motive for this seva. So you have to make sure that when you are going into any sort of seva, you're going into it just for pleasing Bhagwan and to attain Maharaj's Rajipo and to serve him. And all three of these sevas can be done through family, satsang, and community. And we will talk more about that in the next upcoming slides. So we know what seva is, but why do we do seva? like I said, we do seva to attain Maharaj's Rajipo and to attain Ekantik Bhakti. And Ekantik Bhakti is only acquired after doing seva. And the rewards are eternal. Because, like I said, if we go into a seva wanting something in return, Maharaj isn't going to be happy because he's going to think like, oh, that person is thinking for themselves in the sense. We want to go in solely to please Bhagwan. And we do that with a kind of like selfless attitude. And that's why there's the word selfless there. So Bhagwan even says in the Satsangi Jivan, the darshan of Bhagwan is not possible even after learning the Vedas, performing many yagnas, or even giving away the largest amount of wealth in charity. It's only possible after Ekantik Bhakti. And and that is the only way that devotees can have a steadfast way to attain Bhagwan's darshan. And Ekantik Bhakti can only be acquired after rendering selfless service to Ekantik Santo and Bhagwan himself. And that is what frees one from the clutches of Maya. And remember, Maya is the obstruction of Kalyan. And Kalyan is us attaining Bhagwan. So Maya is kind of the one that blocks us. So it's important to understand that that will free us from Maya and the punishments of hell. So does anyone have any questions so far? Anyone? If you have any questions at all? Okay, just making sure. Okay, I don't see anyone, so I will continue. So types of bhakti in relation to seva. So first, I do want to make sure that everyone knows that there are 9 types of bhakti, but in relation to seva, these are the 3 that stick out. So Dasya Bhakti is when you offer service to Maharaj in order to win his divine grace and attain Atyatin Kalyan. And if you see the word Dasya or Das means servant. So you become a servant of Maharaj and you act like you become, and I know the word servant has some sort of connotation in it, but that is not what it means. When you become a certain servant of Maharaj, it means that you have so much care and compassion for him that you have no other ulterior motive but to just serve Bhagwan. And a great example of this in our satsang would be Murji Brahmachari. Murji Brahmachari would be Maharaj's sevak who would give him thought every day and help him through all his daily activities. And he is well renowned in our satsang for that. And the next seva is Pad Sevanam Bhakti, and you'd serve and do dhyan of Maharaj, specifically his feet. And in our religion, in the Hindu religion, feet have such an important respect because they are the base of the human body. So they hold all of the structure and they are the ones that keep us upright. And even when we greet our elders, we like do bhage them, and that is to show respect. So by doing Padsevan and Bhakti, you are definitely showing respect and towards Maharaj. The next one is Atmanivedanam Bhakti, and this is when you unconditionally offer everything to Maharaj with no other motive. So a great example would be Nishkuranand Swami. Nishkuranand Swami gave up his life. He had a wife, he had 2 kids, he had a house, and he was living fine. But then he met Maharaj and he gave all of that up and became a sant in Maharaj's seva. And Nishkuranand Swami has wrote many kirtans and even written some shastras in our sampradaya, and he is a well-renowned sant. And so in Garida Antya 24, Bhagwan states that Muktanand Swami asks Maharaj, the bhaktas remain in Bhagwan's seva in Akshardham. What are the spiritual activities needed to earn such seva? So Bhagwan replies with, an Ekantik Bhakta easily earns Bhagwan seva in Akshardham through 16 spiritual activities. So let me just go through them one by one and kind of understand. The first one is Shraddha. Shraddha is kind of having like having confidence and having like strength that, oh, I can do this, I can push through this. Swadharma is your own dharma. So our dharma, as like I would say the general are teenage, like we're all teenagers. So our dharma would be to make sure that we work hard in school and also like to have fun, like we're still young. It's okay to make mistakes. We're gonna learn through them. We have to work hard and learn through what our mistakes are. So that's kind of our dharma as like a teenager. Vairagya is kind of like non-attachment from worldly objects and having total control. And the next one is total control over indriyas. And Ekadasi and doing other vrats is a great way of trying to practice this, because when we do Ekadasi, we are detaching ourselves from from all of our indriyas and our man. The next one is ahimsa, which is non-violence. That's pretty straightforward. Next one is brahmacharya. So basically, that one, in simple definition, like not to keep any inappropriate relationships with anyone, uh, and then keeping the company of sadhus. So dharmakur ashrit santo is who we should be in the company of. Having atmanishta, which is kind of like how I would describe it, is having belief in your atma, right? And knowing that like I'm a soul. Like I'm not like I've been born 8.4 million times. I'm a soul, and after leaving this body, I will. That means nothing to me. Having unwavering bhakti to Bhagwan and coupled with the knowledge of his greatness. So you want to have bhakti and gnan of Maharaj. Having happiness, honesty, compassion, penance. So all these things are pretty straightforward. Treating senior bhaktas with great qualities as gurus and maintaining deep respect for them. So if anyone is older than us, we show them respect. And if anyone is equal to our age, we show them like kind of like friendship towards them. And anyone who's younger than us, we kind of mentor them and guide them. So now Sahil Bhai will take us through Atmanivedi Bhakta, what an Atmanivedi Bhakta is.
Thank you, Rajbhai. And so now we will talk about an Atmanivedi Bhakta. So if you remember a few slides back, Rajbhai talked about the types of bhakti that are related to Seva. And one of those types was Atmanivedanam Bhakti. So an Atmanivedi Bhakta is someone who follows Atmanivedanam Bhakti. And this is a very important topic that Sriji Maharaj himself decided to emphasize, because he talks about it in the Shikshapatri on Shlok 55, where he says, like Amrish Raja, an Atmanivedi Bhakta is a person who offers bhakti and totally surrenders themselves to Maharaj. So current examples of this would be people like Santos and Sankhyogi Benos. They give up everything just for Maharaj's Seva, and they live only for Maharaj. So that is a great example of an Atmanivedi Bhakta. And one of the qualities of an Atmanivedi Bhakta is that they offer bhakti to Maharaj by offering him things like sandalwood paste, which is what we use to make chandan and for our tilaks for the boys, flowers, rice, naivid, which is just food. They recite kirtans and they only eat after feeding Maharaj. So they only eat Maharaj's prasad. And this is a very important thing to mention, because Atmanivedi Bhaktas this may seem like it's a very hard and challenging thing to attain, being Atmanivedi, but everything in satsang has to be taken one at a time through baby steps. So, for example, I know Chaturmas just started, and we have during Chaturmas you take niyams. So, for example, one of these niyams that you could take is to only eat after feeding Maharaj. So only eating Maharaj's prasad. So this is a great way to better enhance your satsang and become closer to becoming an Atmanivedi Bhakta. One other major quality of an Atmanivedi Bhakta is that they are nirgun. And the Satsangi Jivan explains nirgun as being free from the effects of the three qualities of Maya. So Rajagun, Tamagun, and Sattvagun are the three qualities or guns of Maya. And Maya is, like Rajbhai mentioned before, is the obstruction of moksha and kalyan. So if we can become nirgun, that means we have a straight path to moksha and akshardham without Maya interfering. And the Satsangi Jivan explains that the reason Atmanivedi Bhaktas become nirgun is because of their strong connection to Maharaj and because Maharaj is always Nirgun, that Nirgun and that connection, that strong connection with Maharaj flows to the Bhakta, and the Bhakta also becomes Nirgun themselves. So in short, Maharaj is Nirgun, which and because of the Atmanivedi Bhakta's strong connection to Maharaj, they become Nirgun as well. So now we will go into another breakout room and discuss. We will go and discuss how Tan Seva in specific. So right up until now, we've talked about Seva in general. Now we will go into a little more depth on Tan Seva. And so for the breakout room, you will discuss how Tan Seva can be applied in family, satsang, and community. And okay, welcome back, everybody. I'm sure you guys had some interesting conversations and came up with some great examples for Tan Seva and how it can be applied in family, satsang, and community. So let's go group by group, and each group speaker, can you please unmute and list your examples that your group came up with? So I'll just start with my group. Jana, can you please unmute and say the examples that we came up with?
So Tan Seva and family is to help your family with chores, massage elders' feet if they hurt, and pag elders when you see them. Tan Seva and community is help in public areas such as nursing homes and libraries. Also, you can clean trash around the community, and you can tutor people. And Tan Seva and Satsang is tell Bhagwan's Leelas, doing Bhagwan's darshan in the mandir, and massaging Santo's feet.
Okay. Good job, Janak. Those were some very good examples. Dhruv's group, Dhruv Bhai's group. Who was the speaker for your group?
Dia Patel.
Okay, Dia Patel, could you please unmute and list your examples that your group came up with?
Done Seva for towards family, we can like clean dishes, mow the lawn, fold clothes, and just help around the house and like help your parents or siblings or whoever's living with you. You can help that way. Done Seva towards community, you can like pick up trash, volunteer for just helping kids, that way. Tutoring, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a good way to
Done
help.
Seva towards satsang, you can like clean the mandir, cook food for satsangis, play instruments, help any satsangi, in any way that they need.
Okay, those are some great examples. Next group, Hima's group. Who was the speaker for you guys? Could you please unmute and list your examples?
So some of the things we talked about was like helping the community, like, cleaning up the streets, cleaning beaches, especially if you're a mother, help clean around like the inside if you're working inside the kitchen, help cook, mop the floors, do the dishes, and so forth.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are some great examples as well. Okay, and last but not least, Dia's group. Could your speaker please list your guys' examples? Sia.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. But our three were helping out in the kitchen at home with your family, and then satsang would be giving arti to everyone, and community would be helping setting up shibers because shibir is also a community event.
That is true. Those are some examples that no one else came up with. So good job. And now I will hand it over to Vrajbhai to talk more about Tan Seva and how it can be applied to in your family.
Thank you, Sahil. So, like I said, we can characterize any form of seva into three parts: tan, family, satsang, and community. So let's go through family first. So, we can help our parents through old age, and I know this is a big one, especially culture-wise, because if you think about it, especially what our parents did in our generation, like almost all or most of us, most of our parents, they came from India, they immigrated here, and they knew nothing about the culture. They probably didn't know the language, so they had to sacrifice so much for our happiness and our success. So I think it's only fair that we help them in old age in any way they need, like whether that be like if they're sick, they have any health problems, etc. And also we should help around with household chores. I know like it's a big one. Like if you think about it, I think it's unfair that our parents only do the chores in the household because we all live there. So I think it's fair enough that we all should pitch in after a certain age because it is important that we help around. And even like Maharaj, one big example that one president that Maharaj sent in our satsang was that Maharaj left for one return after fulfilling his parental duty, fulfilling his duties. Like he made sure that Bhaktimata and Dharmadev went to Akshardham before he left for his one return and to continue his life. He did their last rites before leaving. And I think this is a big one because everyone underestimates Maharaj's sacrifices that he makes to his family and he did do a lot for them. Lastly, I think helping your siblings, like if you have a younger sibling, I think it's important to mentor them, to help them navigate life. If they're older than them, I think it's important to show some, like not all, but a little bit of respect to them if they are helping you and showing that kind of older sibling like duty in the sense. And Bhagwan even says in the Shikshapatri, as far as possible, my disciples shall attend to their mother, father, preceptor, and a sick person and render service with proper care and nursing as they live. So Bhagwan has even said in the Shikshapatri Slok 139 that this is actually a part of our duty to help our elders and even any sick person, like as it says here. And one quote that is really prominent is Matru Deva Bhava, Pitru Deva Bhava. So this basically translates to our mother is like God, our father is like God. So we should show the same respect to our parents as we would show Bhagwan. And I'm saying show respect. I'm not saying that they are Bhagwan. You should show respect to them like you show respect to Bhagwan. So there is a difference there. So I don't want anyone to get confused about that. So just making sure. So when we move on, we can go on to Tan Seva and our Satsang. And before we actually begin to break it down and talk about it, I do want to say a quick Leela. So when Nilkanth was on Vanvicharan in the Himalayas, he came across because obviously when you're in the forest, you don't know if you're gonna find food. So Bhagwan at one point went 3 days without eating or drinking, and he got so bad that he actually fainted at one point. And then after he regained consciousness, he went to a stream. He kind of recollected himself. He drank some water, and then he found this tree with the stump on it. It was really obvious. So he went there. He sat down, as you can see in the picture, and he kind of went into samadhi, and he in his heart had a feeling oh, let me call Hanumanji to protect me from all these wild animals. So he invoked Hanumanji, and Hanumanji kind of came and climbed the tree under which Maharaj was resting. So he kind of came to protect him and make sure no animals come. So, and this was actually it was Janmashtami that night. So it was a dark night and the clouds were covering the moon and the stars. So it was kind of like a very spooky and like scary kind of vibe. So and then when Maharaj was in Samadhi, Bhairav, the king of the ghosts and spirit, arrived, and he came there because that tree stump was actually where he was living. Like that was like his place. So he got so offended how like that this this person, this like because they didn't know that this was like Bhagwan. So this person was just sitting there under this tree meditating. And so he got really mad and he had this army of these ghosts and spirits behind him. And then he was just his nature was so evil. He was if you looked at him, he was grunting like a donkey. There was like piles of dead humans behind him. It was just really bad. So as Bhairav was approaching Bhagwan, Hanumanji interfered and he grabbed all of the army behind him, swung their tails, and then kicked them down. But Hanumanji did not kill them their sins did not because their sins did not equal to their death. So like they had a chance for redemption. And one important thing that I can take away from this Leela is that we do have a chance of redeeming ourselves. Like if you make a mistake, it's fine. Like this is a journey. So then Hanumanji, because Bhairav was killing a lot of people and he was just a terrible person, a terrible demon. Oh, sorry. He was a terrible demon. Hanumanji killed him right there and then. And Hanumanji hit him so hard that with his gada that he was vomiting blood and he died. And that just shows. And then Maharaj granted Hanumanji one thing. Maharaj said to Hanumanji, "Thank you so much for protecting me. You will be the ruler. You will be the ruler of our clan." So even if you think about in our satsang today, Hanumanji is a great figure that we worship and we respect because he has helped Bhagwan so much throughout his one return. Moving on, Tan Seva in satsang. Um, another lila or kind of like something that we can take away as a satsangi is Sevakram. Sevakram, when Maharaj was on his one return, he came across Sevakram. He was a sadhu that he was so ill, like he had diarrhea, he was vomiting, he had a fever, he was in really rough condition. So Maharaj saw this old sant and he's like, let me take care of him, let me do his seva. And I want you to think about like as Bhagwan, he kind of put himself aside and he thought about another person. And Bhagwan served this sadhu and helped him recover. And he would go into the villages because Maharaj didn't have money with him, and neither did Sevakram. So Maharaj would go into the village and literally beg for food from villagers. And Sevakram would not offer Maharaj 1 ounce of food in return, like even though he was his sevak. And even after he recovered, Sevakram, when they were continuing the travel, Sevakram would only carry his mara in his money bag, while he would have Maharaj carry the rest of his belonging as well as Maharaj's own belongings. So Maharaj saw that he was a very ungrateful person, so he abandoned his company. So Maharaj is teaching us that if a person does not appreciate your favors done by others, you should be known as a krutagni. And a krutagni is a person who doesn't value another person's seva towards them. And that is one thing that we should know. And in addition, Maharaj says that if a person has committed a sin and has performed prashit or like redemption, if as written in the Sastras, then whoever considers himself a sinner should be regarded as a sinner himself, just like a Krutagni is a sinner. So let me break that down because that is a bit confusing. So for instance, I ate onion and garlic accidentally, and I did 5 mara in my puja the next morning. Okay, so like Bhagwan forgives me, everything is okay. But Sahil still goes around telling people like, oh, he did this, he's a bad person. Then Sahil would be considered a sinner, if that makes sense. So in that way, like you should kind of stay in your own lane and focus on yourself with Maharaj, and don't worry about other people and their path to Kalyan because everyone is on a different pace. So I'm gonna give it to Sahil Bhai to take us through the Tanseva Maharaj. Oh, and
Okay.
before we does anyone have any questions so far about anything? You can just raise your hand, call on you. Okay.
Okay. So Now we'll go through our 6 pillars of our sampradaya, and one by one we will talk about how Tan Seva applies to each and every one of them. So starting with Maharaj. When Maharaj was young, he would teach his friends certain daily routines to become a successful satsangi. So this can include like even very little things such as taking a shower and doing puja before you eat, listening to kathas, singing kirtans, and going to mandir. Things like this, even little things like these add up in the long run and is still considered a very big seva. So Ghanshyam Maharaj would teach all of this to his friends. Speaking of mandir, Ghanshyam Maharaj's one of his favorite activities was to go to mandir with his father Dharmadev, and he enjoyed doing any seva that was that presented itself at mandir. So things like cleaning the mandir or making food for the Hari Bhaktas and Maharaj, and serving the prasad to the Hari Bhaktas. So things like this, Maharaj really enjoyed doing, and this is also considered seva towards the people, the Hari Bhaktas. So when Maharaj went on Van Vichran, Nilkanvarni was taught Ashtang Yoga by Gopal Yogi. Ashtang Yoga is an 8-fold yoga technique that it's very, very complicated. It takes years and years to master normally. When Nilkanvarni mastered it in 9 months, that is crazy. And when Nilkanvarni got to Lodge, he taught all of the sadhus at Lodge that he met Ashtang Yoga. So one of our rapid fire questions was who did Nilkanvarni first meet in Lodge? So he met Sadhguru Shri Sukhanand Swami. So he taught Sukhanand Swami and all of the other santos that were there Ashtang Yoga. So this was a very big seva because remember, it's very complicated and usually takes years to master. And Maharaj would also make wells for the towns that had months of drought. So in the olden days, when there was drought and there was no rain, the only other way to get water was by making wells and getting it from inside the ground. And many of these poorer towns didn't have wells. So in times of drought, they were basically stuck and didn't have any water. So Maharaj would make wells for these towns so they could prosper. And he would also, Maharaj would also make food and give it to the less fortunate, such as the homeless or someone just that is in a very bad situation. And one of the best things Maharaj did for us in terms of Tan Seva was he created the 6 mandirs for us and ordered the construction for 3 more respectively. So mandirs are very important because they act as a sort of shortcut to Akshardham, because the murtis in mandir are presented put in by Acharya Maharaj. So Acharya Maharaj himself puts pran into those murtis. So mandir is a very big way for us to a very easy way for us to attain moksha. Moving on to mandirs. Mandirs provide us a place of worship. So especially for the Hari Bhaktos that might not have a mandir at their house or can't have a mandir at their house for whatever reason, mandirs are a great way for those Hari Bhaktos to go and do satsang. And mandirs also are a center for utsavs. So utsavs like Holi or Diwali, places like utsavs like that are a lot of the times they are held at mandir because Maharaj is already there and it's just a great place for Hari Bhaktos to gather. And mandirs also act as a shelter in times of need. So especially now during the pandemic, there are many Hari Bhaktos that have taken refuge in some mandirs because of the circumstances. And this could also include things like natural disasters, such as like hurricanes, where people go to mandirs for shelter. So mandirs also house santos, sankhyogibenos, haribhakta, and sometimes dharmakul. So they offer a place for our gurus, santos, and dharmakul to live. And that is one of the biggest ways that mandirs can do seva, because santos, sankhyogibenos, and dharmakul, they're the people that teach us about satsang. So they need to be protected at all costs. And the mandirs are a great way for them to be protected, as they have a house or a place to live. And the mandirs also help strengthen and diversify satsang. So if you are a haribhakta that just that might not go to mandir as often, you might have a very specific view on satsang. But if you go to mandir, there might be other haribhaktas that have a different view on satsang, and you can expand your horizon on that. And as mentioned before, santos and sankhyogibenos are also at mandir, and they're the ones that teach us about satsang, so we can attain more gnan from that. Next. Okay, this is for Shastras, we'll go into another breakout room and discuss maybe two, if you can come up with two Shastra or Kirtan references for Tan Seva. So anything in the Shastras or any Kirtans that you can remember or think of that have to do with Tan Seva. Is everybody back? I think everyone is back. Okay, welcome back, everybody. Because we are a little bit short on time, I'm only gonna call on a couple groups to share their references. Dia's group. Who was your speaker? Could your speaker please unmute and say what they have?
So we found shlok number 72, which is about like, if you have an acharya or respected santo coming to your town, you go and greet them with respect and you never go empty-handed.
That is a very good example. And we actually do talk about that in, I'm pretty sure actually the next slide. So that's a very good example. Part's group, could your speaker please unmute and say what you guys came up with?
Yeah, Janu will do it.
Okay.
How Arti, Thad, and Cheshta are all offerings to Bhagwan.
That is a good way of thinking about it. That's probably something that not many people thought of. So good job. Okay. Yeah. So like I said, we are running a little short on time. So let's go to acharyas. So acharyas do a lot of seva for us and this satsang as a whole. For example, they travel all around the world to fulfill the desires of satsangis. And this is done through padharamanis, and they go on vitrans all the time. Sorry. They go on vitrans all the time. Even here, Dharmakul comes to the US all the time. Many of the shibirs, Lalji Maharaj has come to give his ashirvad. And during these Vitrans, they build mandirs, they do padhramnis, they do thars. And padhramnis and thars they do at specific Haribhaktas' houses. So those Haribhaktas are even more blessed that their specific murtis at home have been blessed by Acharya Maharaj. And Acharya Maharaj, they also create dharmashalas for the Haribhaktas who have nowhere to go. And kind of like what Maharaj also did in his time when he was on earth with his physical body. And so dharmashalas are for, so Haribhaktas who don't have places to go. So if there are Haribhaktas in a tough situation or just aren't able to do satsang by themselves without support, they can go to a dharmashala to meet and live with other Haribhaktas who might be in similar situations to them. And this way they can grow their satsang and allow other Haribhaktas satsang to grow as well. And in the Purushottam Prakash, it is said that those who faithfully serve the acharyas and become happy just by seeing them like that in this world, I will always assist and help them. So here Maharaj emphasizes how important the seva of us doing seva to the acharyas is. And basically it says that if you serve the acharyas, it will be like serving me, and that will then I will become happy and I will assist you. So that is one of the major benefits of doing seva. And last but not least, Hari Bhaktos. So this is us, and we have lots and lots of ways to do seva, such as helping to build and develop mandirs. And in those mandirs, we could do many types of seva, such as making Maharaj's thar, keeping the mandir clean, volunteering in the kitchen, and leading the youth of the mandir, and making vagha har for Maharaj. So all of these go back to mandirs. Mandirs do seva for us, and in return we can do seva for mandir as well. So this is a good way to give back to the mandirs and the Maharaj who created the mandir. And it's a good way to do seva to the mandirs and Maharaj. And welcoming acharyas and bidding them farewell at the outskirts of the town. So this, like Dia mentioned before in the last slide, Shikshapatri Shlok 72, this is, Maharaj specifically mentions this in the Shikshapatri and emphasizes it. So Maharaj wants you to know that this is very important and it's a good way of doing seva. So it says, on hearing the news of the Acharya's visit, my followers shall proceed to welcome him at the entrance of the village, and on his departure shall accompany him to the outskirts of the village to bid farewell. So here in America, this would usually translate to the acharyas coming by plane to the airport. So we would go to the airport to welcome them, and when they're leaving, we would go back to the airport and bid them farewell from the airport. So that's our modern interpretation of that, if you will.
So as Sahil Bhai was talking about, we as Haribhaktos, how we do Dan Seva, to continue that, in the Satsangi Jivan, it says that one must serve God as he is a servant, and he should collect flowers and worship him, and he should keep the mandir clean and keep his devotees and serve and honor the devotees and santo humbly. And he should treat Bhagavan as a friend and consider him greater importance than Arjun and wealth as well. Just like Arjun and Draupadi had in the Mahabharata. Arjun was Krishna Bhagwan's maternal cousin, and Draupadi was Arjun's wife. So that was Krishna Bhagwan was Draupadi's brother-in-law, and they both treated Krishna Bhagwan with such respect and treated him just like their best friend and had so much honor for him. So lastly, we went through family, we've been through satsang. So Tan Seva, last but not least, in our community. And I'm just gonna read these off because they're pretty like unless I need to elaborate on them. But like Tan Seva in our community is very important because it helps us engage in our community and but like our Bapuji said, Manav Seva, age Prabhu Seva. So the seva that we do for humanity is for the seva that we do for Bhagwan, and Maharaj accepts that seva as himself. So we can volunteer at nursing homes, cleaning the environment, sustainable practices, meaning like if you see trash on the side of the road, you can pick it up. Like, like simple things like that. Like if you're brushing your teeth in the bathroom, don't keep the water running, like turn it off because it's like in a lot of parts of the world, like people don't even have access to clean drinking water. And that results in like almost a million deaths a year. So I think it's unfair for us to just keep the water running while we're brushing our teeth when some people can't even afford like water to drink. And continuing along, hosting charitable events, having food drives, distributing PPE kits by Monday organizations to help the spread of prevention of COVID-19, helping and also tying along with this, now we can run vaccination clinics. If you are able to do vaccinations, you should have going to blood drives and plasma drives and helping your elderly around the neighborhood. So like if you see an elderly needs a little bit of helping hand, you should help them, caring for animals at the shelter and helping someone that is disabled. So all of these things are examples of how you can engage in your community and serve your community. So last but not least, this session is done, but we do want to dedicate a 2-minute dun for all those serving in the military, because they do a lot of seva to protect us and make sure that we go to sleep safe. So who would like, everyone else can be muted, but that person, one person will unmute and everyone else will just sing on their own. So whatever kind of dun that person wants to do can do. So who would like to lead us in a dun? Anyone? It is hard. Okay. Let's have, so Dhruv Bhai raised his hand. Let's have Dhruv Bhai lead us in a 2-minute dun.
I'm actually going to ask someone else to do this. Part Pai, would you like to do the dun for 2 minutes?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sajan Swami Maharaj Nijay Swami Narayana 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 Sajan Swami Maharaj Nijay. I'm going to pick someone else to do it. I'm picking Jay Patel from New Jersey. Jay.
Yeah.
Just for a minute, okay? 1 minute. Dun.
Swami Narayana, 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 Swaminarayana, Swaminarayana, Swaminarayana.
Sajan Swami Maharaj Ni Jai. Good job, Jay.
Okay,
Right,
thank
right.
you all for listening. We're gonna have Dhruv Bhai just do our conclusion really quick, and then we can all head out for afternoon break.
Hey guys, first of all, thank you for sitting there and listening to what Tan Seva was. As Raj Bhai and Sahil Bhai mentioned, it's basically, as a recap, it's a small kind of seva that we do physically that we can help either community, satsang, or our family, right? So there's going to be more of this discussions in the different sessions that we're going to have later. But the next session is actually going to be special because we're going to have a guest speaker come up. His name is Chintal Patel, and he's going to talk to us about motivation and how we can grow in our career, and a bit of satsang. And then other than that, does anyone have any questions before I say the timings for the next session? I don't see any raised hands, so I'm going to assume that we're all good. So the next session is at 6 EST. Again, 6 p.m. EST. I think that would be 5 CST. Correct me if I'm wrong, someone. Just unmute yourself and let me know.
Right.
Yeah, so 6 EST, 5 CST, and for those of you who are in California, that's 3 PST. And I would love to see you guys again in that one, and let's turn out with the same energy, enthusiasm, and let's keep those videos on, guys. Yes, awesome. Thank you, guys. Bye. Jai Narayan.
Yes, Swami.